Greetings. My name is Janice. I find myself alone in this world, which is why I am choosing to share my story here. I've seen my husband, Raymond, transform into someone unrecognizable, a person who brings dread into my life. I often find myself envious of those who are blissfully married to their soulmates, living joyfully as I once believed I would be with Raymond. But reality proved otherwise. Our marriage began on a foundation of love. Raymond and I both held stable jobs and enjoyed a robust relationship before our wedding. However, things took an unexpected turn soon after our vows. Raymond quit his job abruptly without any prior discussion. He explained that his job was making him depressed and burnt out, and he desperately needed a break. He promised to look for work soon, but in the meantime, the responsibility of supporting us fell on my shoulders. Though I expressed my frustration about being kept in the dark, Raymond dismissed my concerns, assuring me it would only be for a few months. As time passed, our situation did not improve. I had to take on 3 jobs just to keep us afloat, while Raymond spent his days playing video games, contributing nothing to our household duties. Despite my efforts, our financial situation worsened to the point where we struggled to pay rent. We were eventually forced to seek help from Raymond's parents, Ethan and Olivia, who were stunned to learn of Raymond's unemployment. Raymond's parents revealed a troubling pattern. This wasn't the first time Raymond had quit his job and relied on others for support. In the past, they had to coerce him back to work, threatening to cut him off financially. They had hoped he had changed after meeting me, but it seemed he had reverted to his old ways. They expressed doubt about his claims of depression, suggesting instead that he was manipulating the situation for financial gain. This revelation shocked me, as the Raymond I knew before our marriage had always been diligent and responsible. His parents sternly warned him to find employment and cease burdening me. They emphasized that I deserved happiness and should not be exploited. Raymond promised to rectify the situation, but a lingering doubt remained about whether true change was possible. I was left feeling betrayed and isolated, grappling with a reality far from the dreams I once cherished, sharing my story in hopes of finding solace and understanding. As a kind gesture, you've been offered a complimentary stay at one of our properties. However, you must commit to securing employment soon, as your continued undesirable behavior could result in eviction. I gratefully accepted their offer, thanking them profusely, and assured them that Raymond would address his issues. Raymond also promised his parents he would seek a job, but instead, he deceived them about being employed while I was the one diligently supporting our family. I kept silent about this, motivated by my love for him and not wanting to add pressure. Over time, our financial situation deteriorated. I struggled to make ends meet, while Raymond idly passed the days. He even became irate when I couldn't earn more each month, urging me not to take any days off to avoid losing a day's income. Exhausted and feeling isolated, as Raymond disliked when I spent time with friends, I naively overlooked the reality due to my deep affection for him. This continued for an entire year, during which I tirelessly worked and diminished my well-being. Eventually, I reached my breaking point and took a day off from both of my jobs. When Raymond realized I was home, he confrontationally asked why I wasn't at work earning money. I responded that I couldn't keep pushing myself to the brink of exhaustion. He angrily retorted that I had no right to take a break. In frustration, I countered, highlighting the unfairness of my relentless work and his enjoyment of the fruits of my labor while isolating me socially to prevent spending. I insisted on taking the day for myself, which led to me leaving the house in tears to seek some respite. I wandered the city, engaging in some window shopping, though I had little money to spend. The year had drained my savings, primarily due to Raymond's actions, leaving me increasingly resentful towards him. His affection had faded long ago, replaced only by criticisms about my time management and insufficient income. Unsure of what else to do, I returned home in the evening only to find the door bolted from the inside. Confused, I knocked, but Raymond refused to answer. After persistent knocking and shouting due to the freezing cold, Raymond finally responded but refused to open the door, accusing me of disrespect and ignoring his earlier warnings, stating that I needed to learn a lesson and wouldn't be allowed inside the house that day. This left me stunned and hurt as I realized the gravity of the situation I was in. After taking a day off work, I faced an unexpected and harsh reaction from Raymond. He locked me out of our home as a form of punishment and ignored all my attempts to communicate, telling me, "Knock all you want, Janice. I'm not letting you in. Consider this a lesson." He then ceased all communication, leaving me alone and shivering in the cold. Feeling foolish but hopeful, I waited outside, believing he might calm down and let me in. However, as hours passed, the harsh reality of his abusiveness became undeniable. Completely isolated, with no friends nearby and my family far away, I was left without shelter as the cold intensified. After some time, I decided to turn to the only support I thought I might have, my in-laws. Shaking from the cold, I drove to their house, desperate for help. Upon arriving, Ethan, my father-in-law, opened the door. His surprise quickly turned to concern as he saw my distraught state. Through tears, I explained that Raymond had locked me out because I took a day off from my dual jobs to recover from exhaustion. I had merely gone window shopping, a small break from my relentless routine because I couldn't afford to buy anything. Ethan was shocked. "Janice, why on earth are you working 3 jobs? Raymond told us he was making enough money for both of you. He even mentioned he wanted you to quit your job and relax." Through sobs, I revealed the truth, that Raymond hadn't been truthful about his employment status and had been living off my income while pretending otherwise to his parents. "He's been lying to you all this time," I admitted. "He hasn't applied for any jobs since he left his last one and constantly pressures me for money. He hates it when I take a day off because it means less money coming in." As I shared my ordeal, the reality of the situation dawned on his parents. They were appalled to learn about the manipulation and lies and the extent to which their son had taken advantage of my loyalty and hard work. The pain and embarrassment of my situation overwhelmed me, and I broke down completely in front of them, revealing the full extent of my suffering under Raymond's abusive behavior. My emotions were raw and heavy as Ethan expressed outrage, and Olivia tenderly comforted me. Once I had collected myself, Ethan assured me with firm resolve, "Janice, you are not alone. We will help you navigate through this. It's unfathomable how our son has turned out like this. Don't worry, we'll figure something out." Admitting my fears, I said, "I don't even want to be in the same house as Raymond anymore. I'm at a loss about what to do next." "Don't stress about those details," Ethan responded confidently. "Let's head back to the house together. It's time Raymond learns the gravity of his actions." When we arrived, Olivia opted to stay back, fearing she might lose her temper and confront Raymond physically. At the house, Raymond refused to open the door despite our knocking. Through the closed door, I could hear him stubbornly refuse to let me in. "As long as I want, Janice. You didn't listen to me about taking a break, so now I won't listen to you." His callousness was shocking. "Raymond, this is insane. It was just one day, a break I desperately needed. That doesn't mean I should be locked out for hours." His response was chilling. "You wanted a break? Fine. Spend the night outside. Take all the time you need." At my wit's end, I demanded he open the door, and Ethan intervened with a stern ultimatum. "Open the door, Raymond, or I swear I'll break it down myself." The threat of his father's anger silenced Raymond momentarily before he finally opened the door, his nerves palpable. Seeing us, his anxiety heightened, especially under his father's stern gaze. Raymond attempted a casual greeting, which Ethan cut short. "Drop the act, Raymond. Explain yourself. Why did you lock Janice out? Did you forget who owns this house?" Trying to downplay his actions, Raymond stammered, "It's not what it looks like, Dad. We were just joking around, right, Janice?" I couldn't hold back any longer. "It's exactly what it looks like, Ethan. He locked me out because I took a day off. While I've been working tirelessly, he's been living off my earnings and doing nothing." Ethan turned to his son with disappointment etched on his face. "Raymond, why are you lying? You left your job without discussing it with Janice. You promised to work on yourself for your family. What's going on?" Caught in his web of lies, Raymond scrambled for an excuse. "Dad, I swear it's not like that. I've been looking for jobs. It's just tough out there right now. I've sent out lots of applications." My resolve hardened in that moment. I had endured enough of Raymond's deceit and manipulation. No longer would I remain silent or passive. It was time to stand up for myself and expose the truth of my situation. Raymond underestimated my strength and resilience, but I was determined to hold him accountable for his actions. As he fumbled to salvage his crumbling facade, I knew the truth would finally come to light, and I was ready to fight for the respect and treatment I deserved. "But I haven't heard back from any of them yet," Raymond defensively claimed about his job applications. "Oh, really? Well, why don't you show us all the applications you've sent? That way we can see if you're telling the truth," Ethan countered skeptically. "Why do you need to see proof? Don't you trust your son? It's ridiculous. I don't need to prove anything. I've sent out plenty of applications," Raymond retorted, clearly agitated. However, I knew the truth. Raymond hadn't sent out any applications. After quitting his last job, he had no intention of finding another. He planned to live off my earnings indefinitely. Ethan sensed the dishonesty too. It was apparent that Raymond was avoiding the truth. "He hasn't sent out any applications, Ethan. That's why he can't show them to you," I interjected. "There was even a vacancy at my office, and I suggested he apply. He just yelled at me, refusing to take any direction." Raymond's father, growing increasingly frustrated by his son's evasiveness and lack of initiative, sternly said, "Raymond, your mother and I allowed you to stay here, hoping you'd turn your life around. We were under the impression you were working and contributing to the household. Now it's clear you've been letting Janice work to support you while you do nothing but spend her money. You haven't kept your part of the agreement, so I'm going to have to evict you from this house." "What? Dad, no. Please don't do this, Janice. Look what you've gotten us into. Now we're both going to lose our home," Raymond panicked, trying to shift the blame. "There's no need to yell at her, Raymond. Janice will either stay here with us or in this house by herself. You are the one who will be leaving," Ethan firmly corrected him. "This is unfair. Janice and I are a couple. You can't just separate us. You can't split up a married couple. I go where my wife goes, and that's final. If Janice wants to stay married, she has to take me wherever she goes," Raymond protested desperately. "Actually, Raymond, I won't be staying married to you," I declared, having reached my breaking point. "I decided a while ago. I will be filing for a divorce." Raymond was stunned, visibly shaken by my declaration and his father's threats. His entire demeanor shifted as he realized the gravity of his situation. All his life, he had used people to support his lifestyle, always dodging his responsibilities. But this was a pivotal moment. He was finally being held accountable. In a desperate plea, he broke down. "Janice, please don't do this. You can't be serious. Are you going to throw away years of our relationship over this one mistake? I know I shouldn't have locked you out." But it was too late for regrets. Raymond's actions had consequences, and both his parents and I were united in our resolve to no longer enable his irresponsible behavior. It was time for a change, and for Raymond, it was a harsh awakening to a new reality that he could no longer avoid. "It was just one day. We can sort this out," Raymond pleaded, trying to minimize the gravity of the situation. "No, Raymond, it wasn't just one day. You've been financially exploiting me for the entire past year. You've drained my savings and contributed nothing, not even helping around the house. You've just complained every time I asked for help. A whole year of this, I can't take it anymore," I countered, my resolve firm. "Janice, you're being unreasonable. Let's just talk this out. Look, I'll start applying for jobs tomorrow, I promise. Once I get something, we could even start therapy, right? We can fix this." He bargained, a note of desperation in his voice. "I know you well enough to understand that you won't follow through. You've ignored my suggestions and disrespected me continuously over the last year. If I give in now, you'll just revert to your old ways once things settle down," I replied, weary of the repetitive cycle. Raymond turned to his father for support. "Dad, please help me convince her. See, I'm willing to change, but she won't listen." Ethan, however, was unwavering. "Raymond, Janice is doing the right thing by leaving. You don't have the right to keep her here against her will. She's making a sound decision, and I don't want her to waste her life anymore with someone who mistreats her like you have. Janice, why don't you come stay at our place until Raymond moves out? I'll wait here while you pack your things," Ethan offered, giving me a chance to leave the toxic environment. I seized the opportunity and quickly gathered my belongings. As promised, Ethan waited for me downstairs, ignoring Raymond's attempts to sway him. Knowing I couldn't trust Raymond after everything that had happened, and fearing it would be too risky to stay any longer, I accepted Ethan's offer. Downstairs, Raymond tried to physically block my exit, but Ethan's stern threat to call the police made him step aside. Back at my in-laws, Olivia immediately embraced me. Her warmth brought me to tears. It had been so long since I'd felt genuine affection. Olivia reassured me, "You can stay here as long as you need to." Deciding to stay with them for a while, I didn't rush into filing for divorce. I needed to ensure Raymond would be self-sufficient to avoid any obligations like alimony. I figured giving him a month to find employment would suffice. In the meantime, I transferred half of our joint account funds into my account and vowed not to deposit any more into it. Despite his efforts to reconcile, showing up repeatedly at his parents' place to plead for forgiveness, we remained firm. This time, even his mother openly criticized him for his failures. This stand wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about reclaiming my life and dignity and establishing a boundary Raymond had long ignored. Olivia had harsh words for Raymond, branding him a poor excuse for a man. Raymond's tearful pleas for forgiveness were, in a way, a satisfying vindication of my long-standing grievances. As the month wore on, Raymond was compelled to leave the family home. He resisted, nearly causing his parents to involve the police. It seemed he couldn't grasp that his parents were seriously evicting him. After he moved out, Raymond began couch surfing among friends, who quickly grew wary of hosting him indefinitely due to his parasitic tendencies. He struggled to secure a decent job given his reputation and work ethic, but eventually managed to find something to make ends meet. As soon as Raymond settled into a new place, I initiated the divorce proceedings. The process was straightforward. Raymond couldn't afford legal representation and resigned himself to the inevitable separation. Fortunately, there was no requirement for alimony due to our minimal income disparity. I was able to quit one of my jobs since I no longer had the burden of supporting Raymond, and his parents generously allowed me to stay with them without charge, helping me to start rebuilding my savings. Our divorce concluded without much conflict, mainly because neither of us had the resources or the will to draw out proceedings. Raymond apologized repeatedly, but I could not find it in me to forgive him after everything that had transpired. I've since moved into a 3-bedroom apartment with a roommate, and life is gradually improving. I maintain close ties with Olivia and Ethan, who have warmly welcomed me into their family. They too have not forgiven Raymond, and it appears unlikely that their relationship with him will ever return to what it once was. This new chapter is one of healing and rediscovery as I build a life surrounded by those who truly care for me.